Greetings and Hotep, the 14th of October at 7:42 a.m. I was supposed to document this yesterday, but my daughter is having to move my YouTube videos to an SD card, and there's some malfunctioning, and her phone is getting slower, so she's like, Mom, Mom. So I have to tell God, wait. So she's asleep and I have her phone. So the creator was sharing a couple of things with me about the human mind and the human understanding. Just because you've been taught a thing and you've been told something does not work, does not mean that that's true. As you look at time, you saw how if you acknowledge the Bible, if you acknowledge scientists, they believed that there were cavemen and they might have crawled in the beginning as grown men, and they eventually stood upright. They ate raw meat. They eventually cooked meat. They lived in caves and used the skin of animals to stay alive. Now look at the progression. Today, babies are being born holding up their head, opening their eyes, looking around. We live in sophisticated caves called houses. They have air conditioning, they have heating. You can create your own environment. So, for some reason, I've been feeling like I'm in a snow bubble. I don't know the technical name of this little device, but it was right on the tip of my tongue. My daughter is in love with them. They have water in them, and then they have fake snow on the inside, or they have like glitter. So you shake them, right? And then the glitter and the fake snow just moves all around, and then you sit it down, and then everything settles. So what if our world is just a simulation, and there's some more smarter, more intelligent people? Billy Carson is in my head now. He comes on my YouTube feed often, and they're making the weather, and mostly everything around you is actually artificial. But because you don't have the same information that the people that run it and create the weather, so now Dr. York is in my head, saying that there's a HARP, HARP, if I'm correct, my memory serves me correct, a HARP project that makes weather. And the reason that I keep thinking so intensely about reality and what information I've been given to guide my reality, is because my children and I are living pretty much off of the benevolence of other people. Even though I am competent and have skills, a lot of people came together to hold me back, to make sure that the perception in the legal world, in the work world, is that I'm crazy. It doesn't matter how intelligent I actually am. The word is that she's been Baker acted, she's crazy, she's incompetent, she uses drugs, she prostitutes, she drinks. None of this is true in actual reality. So Dr. Lisa Gaze, Lisa, when something like that happens, I'm trying to find out if the creator is saying don't say names, or if the witches effect is telling me not to say names. So I will just say the psychologist, she's not a psychiatrist, the psychologist that's located on Waters and Del Mabry. First name Lisa, last name G, and I can't really spell it anyway. Gaies, something like that. She is the one that did a lot of damage with a bunch of lies. The court system has these psychologists that they use when they're trying to steal your children from you, and they'll say pretty much anything. And I peeped that. Now, this was at the end of the Piscean age, so I used to carry tape recorders and such to record them so that I could show people what they put on paper versus what happened in the actual visit. Now, what I didn't know back then is that I had a bunch of family members working against me. So, unbeknownst to me, I've been in competition with my siblings. Well, they've been in competition with me. I thought we were family. And they decided to use me and my children as their bank account, basically. And they used my mom the same. So when my mom started saying no, that's when she ended up dead, right? My mom was much older, loved her children, probably didn't even know her children would kill her to get their so-called estate. But I'm pretty sure that's what happened. And because I talk openly and candidly about what's going on in life, my family doesn't want me talking. And if I talk, they want people to dismiss what I say. So that's why they give me the label of being crazy. And I think that's interesting. What's more interesting is the people who allowed it, the courts, the greater society, and how many people they pulled in to also participate in creating the reality. So I want to say to people who wear labels like bipolar, schizophrenic, ADHD, more than likely you're a very gifted and brilliant person, and somebody in your circle right around you that tells you they love you, that might be fixing dinner for you, slowly poisoning you, is very jealous and envious of you. And I want to encourage you to become the Lord of your own world. If you have to eat fish out of the can, stand over the stove, make your food, and don't leave it and consume it to the end. Give the scraps to the dog or toss it out to the birds. Don't put leftovers in your refrigerator. They will put flakes of rat poison and mix it in real good and just slowly poison you. Do not drink open water, open drinks. I'm talking about at your mama house, your daddy house, where you think you safe. What I think the reality is that reincarnation is real. I'm a Christian. I have been trained against believing this theory, but because there's missing books of the Bible, I acknowledge that this reality could be in the missing books. So I think the reason that you have enemies right up under you is because in another life, they could have been a direct enemy. And in this life, they came back as your sister, your brother, your mama, your daddy, your cousin, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife. So the Word of God says something very powerful that we have not been trained to do. But I have been praying and asking the Creator to give me this gift for over 10 years. Over 10 years. I'm not going to go to 20. 26. Yeah, I can say over 20 years. Try the Spirit by the Spirit. You understand that? You can't focus on the flesh of the person. You have to be studying the energy, the spirit that's within that person. And I had a bunch of fake friends. And I didn't know they were fake. I weren't paying attention to them too much. God endowed me with a lot of power. And I kept feeling bad about what was happening around me because I felt like I could change the scenario. And the reality was I could. And I was changing the scenario. I wanted to heal people when I met them and I saw weaknesses and imperfections. But because I thought I was God, I was hooking up with the wrong kind of people and trying to heal baby demons. That's what I'm going to say. So as a result of me giving my power over to people that were very much unworthy, I believe that created negative karma for me. And I'm living out that negative karmic cycle now. Should have never took my little rainbow children, indigo, self, and crystal children back to live with my family. Now, going back to my family home was not a problem because the building didn't really have the problem. You know, you can cleanse and get rid of any negative energies dwelling there. But dwelling with them living demons, who I believe they've made pacts and oaths with, and I don't know the hierarchy of the devil world. I'm just going to say sold their soul. They be busting down the church doors now. But in the inside, I believe they sold their soul. And many churches are covens. I don't know if I think some are intentional covens, and I think others have many covens within the church. And maybe the church just can't do anything about it, or don't even have the knowledge. A lot of people become pastors and stuff for show. It's not like in their soul they were not called to do the thing. And certain people are placating their insecurities with the title of pastor, minister, deacon, first lady. And I almost fell into the trap. They almost had me. I was 25, and me personally, I've dated, I think, 5 ministers and or pastors. And I kept saying, well, God, how is this happening? Because they didn't tell me they were a pastor or a minister when I first met them. So there's something going on energetically. The other thing that I gravitate to are alcoholics. Now, I know why with the alcoholics. My dad, Arthur Atkins, was an alcoholic. My mother, Dorothy Atkins, drank a lot. Now, back in that day, it was natural. Drinking and smoking was a natural part of their cultured life in the 70s, the 80s. And then people started, it seems like about in the 90s, where they start really talking about cancer and the negative sides of the smoking and drinking, because Mothers Against Drunk Drivers became an issue. I don't know what happened, because back in the day, my daddy had a car. It looked like it was 14 feet long. I don't know why I keep wanting to say it was a Catalina. I don't really think it was. It was made out of heavy metal, like metal. Like if you get hit with that, for sure you're dead. But people didn't seem to drive as fast. There seemed to be more types of like country roads where you could, like trundle home and not really hurt anybody. People seemed to be in their house and out of the way by the time it was pretty much dark. And now our society moves so much faster. I'm looking at how the real estate industry has changed. When I was in New York, I lived in a room that was long. It was long, but it wasn't wide. It was really weird. And it was so small. And I was like, how is everything here so small and you don't even get that much and it's so expensive? But now, New York living has been brought to this little southern town of Tampa. And they'll take a little rundown piece of building and they want $2,000 for. And it's not like you get the benefit of the city life. In New York, people go there and deal with the rat race because around you, used to have anyway, a rich city life. You know, when I went there was always something cultured to do. 125th, they were killing it, but it wasn't dead yet. So you could still catch vendors on 125th. You could still catch the brothers from Dr. York's sect selling books. You could still catch, who else? I meant the conscious community, I'd say. We're still out and about selling oil, selling black soap, selling shea butter. And you could talk that talk, kind of escape your reality. The reality is the separation of races is still very much prevalent based on the outer shell. And I mean the body. It's still being held down pretty much by a majority race, and there is still struggling going on. And it used to be the TV, now it's the internet. If you stay in this 3D mind looking at the material wealth of people, you're going to have a hard time growing. You're going to have a hard time being content. My family, when they evicted me illegally with some fake police officers, some fake sheriff officers, and some corrupt sheriff officers and some corrupt Tampa police officers, Hillsborough County Sheriff officers say, I guarantee you he wasn't on the clock when he came and did that foolery. And if he was on the clock when he did that foolery, then wow, he has a real God complex. But they probably thought it's just one her. She ain't gonna do nothing. We'll pay you or we'll owe you a favor, depending on who's a member of his Omega Psi-Phi. What is that? Sorority, no, fraternity. And then you have, church members that click up. Then you have people from high school who know each other that click up. Then you have people that you just pay to do something, right? So they're all looking at me as nothing, and I'm not going to do anything. But they didn't know how much the creator of the universe loves me and how close our bond was. They couldn't see that. They knew I was different and weird, and she don't seem to care about money. She don't seem to care about material things. And so we're just going to take her stuff. So that's what they did. They took it. They couldn't look at me and tell that she prays almost continuously. She's awake and she's praying, but we don't hear her praying. She's talking to us and she's praying, but we don't hear her praying. Because I sought to develop my inside. I sought to find and cultivate a relationship with whoever made the sun, whoever made the moon, whoever separated the sky from the land, separated the sea from the land and sky. So that's what I've been spending my time on. And that happened because I was 26 years old, working at the University of South Florida in a professional position. I was dating a minister on my way to being the first lady of somebody's church. Well, a church, his church, because I was kind of like a ride along. That wasn't a desire I had for myself. And I only had one child. We were growing up together. And I was miserable in my inner sides, in my invisible self. And I couldn't figure out why. And I was like, Lord, what is this? And I won't be saying names. Most of these people are still alive. And their name is irrelevant. I wanted at the time to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist so that I could help black people feel good about themselves, because I grew up being told I was black, ugly, soot, stupid. And the person who did this to me, they were under the same mess that I was under, maybe even more. and we were children. And so I was doing the same thing to my little sister. And it started from, I think, America doing it to black people. Oh, they're nothing more than slaves. They're not smart. All you gotta do is keep them in some watermelon and fried chicken and they'll be just fine. They like being slaves. See, when you're abusing a person and you have a conscience, then you have to try to alleviate the weight from your conscience of feeling like a bad person. So you create lies about the situation to alleviate the pressure instead of atoning and correcting your behavior. And I think that's why America is still suffering, because they put off on other people, but they never atone. Even if you come and say, I'm sorry, that's the beginning of atonement. You have to do some things to physically make the people better that you have been putting off on. So when I started learning about the witchcraft, it's like, whoa, there are people who can sit somewhere and chant words and say words over and over again and mess up your life? Yes, yes, and yes. So now that I actually carry physical beads to help me to remember to pray. And every time I start praying, I pray at least 109 times. There's 108 beads around the necklace and then one representing the person to make 109. And I got this from the Patel grocery store. I don't know, maybe, are they Hindu, Buddhist? I don't know their religion, but they have great produce. And their incense are top tier. And incense, produce, and they have a solid culture. And they're very discriminating. They don't let other people come into their culture, and I believe they know that when people start coming to your culture, it starts breaking down. So we call it discrimination. I call it culture preservation. It's normal for your own kind to want to save your own kind. Now, you might not see that in people who have been broken down, like black people. I mean, they really fucked us up. Can you imagine watching two horses rip a man open? Can you imagine the yells, the screams, the smells that are going to come from that, if it's even possible? When I read the Willie Lynch letter, The Making of a Slave, How to Make a Slave, it said the way you take dominion over a race of people is to psychologically traumatize them. You take the strongest, most virile nigger man and you tie one leg to one horse and another leg to another horse. You see, I'm giving you the voice with it now. This is my imaginary voice. And you beat the horses until you tear that man apart. Make sure the children and the women see it so that they become terrified. Right? Now, you're doing this to the lesser of the tribe, because they done already took the people who have information, the elders and the witch doctors, anybody with any elevated understanding. Allegedly, they killed them off or took them off, maybe to use them for their knowledge. So they took the elite. No, I'm not going to use that word. They took the knowers. The reason I don't use the word elite is because what I've been recently finding out is that the so-called elite class actually kills people to offer them up to some deity, demon, I don't know. And like in the real world, we call that murder. So how is it that if you're in an elite society, you can kill people and you're considered elite? then gang members should be elite, right? Your common criminal should be elite. They out there killing people, but it's not the way it goes. It's perception. So the elite are doing the same thing. The top crust is doing the same thing that the bottom crust is doing. But in order for them to feel good, they give it a spin. They create jargon, terminology to make it different, to make it look different when it's the same thing. So it's like, no, I don't want to be a part of something where people kill other people to stay up. And I just keep saying to God, like, how could this be? How could this be? So I started looking at sacrificing in the Bible. Now, in the Bible, I don't really remember them sacrificing people. I remember Isaac and Abraham going out and God telling him, do I have the names right? I haven't been heavily immersed in Bible stories in a long time. I left the church at about 26 looking for truth. And I searched in different religions for truth, only to find out that it's all pretty much the same, in my opinion, just given different names. I hope I can say this without this being offensive. I worked, well, I won't even say the name, so there you go. I worked at a place where we created oil. It was one large plant, and there were different formulas, but out of that one plant came 5 different products that went to stores, but they had different names. So let's say, this is hypothetical, Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, Captain Crunch, Raisin Bran. My favorite cereal is that O cereal. It's shaped like an O. It's really sweet. It's made by the Quaker guy. And I need a name of another cereal. Fruity Pebbles. All 5 of those cereals came out of the same plant, right? But they have different boxes and different names. So that's the way God is. It's like all the same energy, and then people created different spins. So you have different cereals, right? All made for the same function and purpose. And I guess depending on the ingredients, some are cause more health problems than others. So we don't have to be around here fighting and putting each other down. You say, oh, you're Muslim? Okay, well, good for you. You ain't got to be trying to convert that person. Oh, you're Christian? Okay, well, good for you. Because what happens as you continue to live, breathe, and grow, changes take place. As you're growing, you might leave one religion and go over here to another so-called religion. All this energy is in the air for the taking of the healing of the people. And that's what I don't know if he's a doctor, but that's what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was trying to tell people about them so-called preaching hate because black people have been torn down so far. This is my interpretation. He didn't say this part. Because black people have been torn down so far, they refer to the white man as the devil because of the horrific acts. And that helped to heal the soul of black people. I mean, can you imagine if they had said, the white man is afraid of being removed from the earth. He's afraid of genetic annihilation. So in order for him to control you, he has to make himself seem superior and make you seem inferior so that you will spend your time trying to buy clothes and shoes and makeup and, weave and hair and put deadly toxic glue above your eyelid and put on eyelashes and put deadly chemicals on your scalp near your brain so that you can be perceived as being beautiful, smart, intelligent. Do you know how fucked up you have to be to poison your own self? So that's one of the most amazing, magnificent pimp games on the earth. And they got almost everybody in the black culture doing it, except for a few people. And if you address them logically and say, ma'am, does that make any logical sense? They want to fight with you and tell you how I want to do it. I like it. Da, 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 da. And so it's a highly effective strategy. So they don't have to beat you anymore and kill people in front of you anymore to make the influence. And so as we move from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age, we will be living Harry Potter. So a lot of people will just continue to be used as an energy source. And so I was an energy source for many people. I didn't know it because I didn't have an understanding of what was going on. It wasn't very important to me. I knew the importance of raising your own children because my parents put me in places where people abused me. I came home and school was one of them. I came home and told them of the abuses. And they were like, oh, you must have did something wrong. You better get in there and listen to that teacher. And it's like, okay. Well, the children are beating on me. They're pulling my hair. They're punching me. And, well, you better fight them back. Then when I fight back and get suspended, then they're fussing with me and trying to spank me. So I'm like, I'm real confused with what y'all got going on. So I said, Lord, if I have children, please allow me to take care of my own children. And so he has allowed me to do that, except for my twins that were stolen in the court system. What I didn't know back then that I know now is that my family was a part of it. And my fake friend Natalie Renee Carnegie was probably the spearheader. And I'm going to say with my sister Ava, things might have changed. My brother ended up with them because he looked like the successful one, right? On the outside, peacocking, Halloween every day. So now, 20 years later, I realize it was a real pimp game, a farce. And I want to say to you children, because when I talk, I'm talking to children. Grown people, I done wrote them off. They are fucked up thoroughly, okay? But you children, you have a chance. You have a chance to turn away from the status quo, going along to get along and doing evil things to keep up a perception. If God is bringing you down, go ahead and be down. Don't go putting insurance policies on your children, or you already got the insurance policies on your children and you're like, ooh, all I got to do is kill one of my kids and get the $200,000 and I can continue to stay up. You're just creating more karma for yourself. So if God is bringing you down for whatever reason, be down. And if you just do your time in the down phase, work to build yourself through prayer, through sacrifices. And when I say sacrifices, I mean fasting. I mean denying yourself material things. I mean denying yourself being a part of evil. Then he's going to raise you up again. It's just how it works. You go down, you go up, you go down, you go up. In the Bible it says valley experiments and mountaintops. But what's happening now is everybody wants to live on the mountaintop. They don't want to have any valley experiences. There's value in the valley, in the mud. I buy blackstrap molasses. And I learned about this Cousin Toy turned me on to Blackstrap Molasses, and Cousin Toy turned me on to the Book of Eden. And those were two very life-saving items that changed my whole life. So the blackstrap is what's left at the end. I think I'm right. You can always Google it and check it. At the end, the minerals that are left at the end, the iron, the psyllium, the silica, I don't know what else is down there. I buy it because of the iron primarily. So, if you buy molasses, it's dark brown, tastes pretty good. If you buy, well, I should start before that. Let me see. Yeah, we'll start there. And if you buy blackstrap molasses, it's got a bitter taste. It's dark. And there's a difference. You know, you don't want to put blackstrap molasses on your pancakes. It's like, that's going to be a bitter experience. You put molasses on your pancakes. And if you know you got some extra cash, you put some maple syrup, grade, whichever, A, B, on your pancakes. You know, if you really got it going on. If you ain't got much money, you put that deadly concoction that you get from the Dollar Tree. It says syrup. And you put that on. But those are all going to do different things to your body. If you got that Dollar Tree diet, you're going to have a lot of problems pretty soon. Okay? If you're the person that can afford the blackstrap molasses and the maple syrup, and you can afford everything, it's the importance that you place on it. You might be able to buy less, but if you buy the quality, I think your body will be fulfilled and it won't have that starving thing where you feel like you got to eat all the time. And so I say buy the best. Then you get benefits from the blackstrap molasses. So blackstrap molasses, you want to take 1 to 3 tablespoons daily. And I would say take it at night, but me, I pretty much take it in the morning, which is against the health diet. According to African elders, bitters are to be taken in the morning, and the sweets are to be taken at night because they help you go to sleep. So when you start with sweets in the morning, you put yourself in a very emotional state. And in the daytime, when you're out in the world, the war zone, you need to be on your P's and Q's. You need your logical faculties to be up front. So you should start with your bitters. You know, some Pac Diarco tea, some clover tea, unsweetened now, bitters. And then you should really eat your dinner in the morning because you're going out into the world to work it off. Why would you eat your heaviest meal right before you're going to sleep? Because you've been trained improperly. And that's going to not allow you to sleep well because your body is using its energy to try to digest the food you just ate before you went to bed. So everything is turned upside down. And that's why they look at me and think I'm weird. Because I'm trying to take information that can benefit the longevity of my life. Because God told me I was going to be here 120 years. Now, we just had a conversation. I said, God, can I be here for 150? I'm really enjoying watching the shift from the Piscean age to the age of Aquarius. Now, me living 150 years is not going to help me to see the next shift. We're going to be in the age of Aquarius for quite some time. But what the Creator had me thinking about is when we shifted from the Old Testament to the New Testament, that might have been a shift from the Piscean age, from the whatever age we were in, to the Piscean age. I haven't done the research. Excuse me. Shifting here. I haven't been eating my peppers, haven't been drinking my ginger root tea. or I wouldn't be coughing. And I gotta get me some slippery elm to clean out my lungs. And stop eating cheese. Well, it's time to switch over to goat's milk cheese, really. Um, and there's these rituals that our ancestors used to follow, moving from one season to the other. And I have been trying to keep up with them and then train them to my children so that they can live. This is the first time in my life I look at a carrot and I don't even know if it really has beta carotene in it. Does this carrot really have vitamin A and D? Because if it's not in the soil, it's not in the carrot, right? And so we have genetically modified foods that America allows us to eat, and you really don't know what's in your food. So that's why I believe in supplementation. And you could say the same thing about supplements. They could be conning you, but for the most part, I really believe that most of the people that are making supplements are doing so because they believe that the same thing I'm on, that, the soil has been stripped of nutrients here in America. And in order for you to continue to have a healthy body, you must supplement. Many allopathic doctors believe that you are just creating expensive pee. But then most doctors, I don't know if this has changed, don't live to see 60. So who wants to listen to a guy that can't even eke out 60 good years? We ain't talking about you looking all broke down, your skin all wrinkled, and, you're moving real slow and you grunt when you sit down, but you're a doctor. And you see all the old fat nurses that are trying to help you and they can't even help themselves. So there's a lot of hypocrisy in the culture. There is a tape that I listened to years ago. It's called Dead Doctors. Dead Doctors Don't Lie. Dead Doctors Don't Lie. Something like that. And it said that doctors don't live to but about age 58. Can you imagine spending 12 years to get a certification, but you can't live? I meant you gotta be near 30 by the time you can, have your first job. And then what? You work 20 years and maybe enjoy 8 years before you're dead. That's really that's not very effective in my opinion. So I was ranting and raving to say to you, God said the veil is thinning and greater energies are coming through the atmosphere. And that's the difference that you see. Back in the day, the children needed 2 weeks for the muscles in their neck to be strong enough for them to hold their neck up. And if you watch YouTube shorts, you see these babies. They still in the operating room or the birthing room, and they're showing you the babies, and they flapping their eyes open. I'm like, that look like a little alien. And there could be energies coming through in the children that are giving them these abilities. I don't know. I'm just learning now about people who put demons on their children's heads. It's just a sick, vile world, that's all I can say. And through tarot readings, they are suggesting, well, one of the things that was said by a tarot reading that resonated with my soul is that somebody, a elder in my family, put a, I don't want to say demon, entity, attachment to me as a child, as a baby. And if that's so, then that would explain the struggle that I go through when I'm hearing suggestions in my soul and thinking, no, I don't think that's right. So I have to pick up a book, a religious book, whether it is the Bible. What the? Something just dropped on the roof and made a big noise. So maybe I'm supposed to stop at the Bible. I was going to suggest some other religious books to pray and ask the Holy Spirit to rightly divide the word, to make sure that the suggestion that cropped up in my spirit or in my soul, I don't really know how things work just yet. But when you're thinking, when you have a problem and you're trying to problem solve and thoughts come to you, right? Thoughts can come through the atmosphere, thoughts can come through witches chanting. They were sending me confusion spells, and they have even sent me suicide spells. And so when I can feel the energy, I say, oh no, return to sender, return to sender, return to sender, return. That's not my energy. You can have that back. And I try to send it back multiplied times 100. A lot of the tarot readers say you're not supposed to return to sender. You're supposed to ask God to absorb it. So now I say return to sender 100-fold unless you feel like it needs to be absorbed.